Everyone, my name is Troy Myers. Welcome to another Sunday night reading series from the Stonehouse Readers. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing from the University of Southern Maine. And Amanda Plow, my classmate and colleague, and I have started this alumni reading series in January, in large part as a response to the isolation of the pandemic. It has been extraordinarily good for me. It has got me writing poetry again. I feel like I'm rejoining a community of writers. I graduated a few years back. So I'm very honored to be here, and thanks for tuning in. For the summer, Amanda and I think we'll go every other week. It gives us a little more freedom. I hope to do a little traveling this summer, and other folks might too. So, always shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom, for watching. And to Amanda's mom, who watches dutifully every week also. So we know we always have at least 2 viewers. And of course, we have a few more. Tonight we have 3 readers, so we have a full group. We have Cristina Perachio reading fiction, Perachio. Alexandra Delcourt also reading fiction. And Shannon Bowring, who is a graduating student at Stone Coast. She's our first current student to take us up on that offer. She'll be reading some creative nonfic, even though she was a fiction student when she was at Stone Coast. So since we have a full slate of people, I won't take any extra time. And we'll jump right into our first reader, who is Cristina Perachio. Cristina, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for agreeing to read.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. I'm really excited to be here with you guys.
Very cool. And you brought in, I think you brought in Alexandria too. So
That's right.
yeah.
She's my Stone Coast wife.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks for doing that.
Of course.
So what are you working on, Cristina, these days?
So right now I'm working on a draft of a novel, hoping to complete that over the summer.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, I've just been working on getting some short stories published.
Great.
Narrative Magazine just 2 days ago bought the story that I'm about to read. So you guys are
Oh,
all getting a little
fantastic.
sneak peek, yeah, of a story that will be published with Narrative Magazine in the fall.
Will that be online or that's print
It's
only?
online.
Okay.
Yep. Narrative is a completely, online uh, magazine.
I respect that. I think it's kind of the way to go when one can, because then anyone can see your work.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
very
And
cool.
they're big. They really support up and comers, along with established writers. So it's a great magazine to check
Well,
out.
congratulations. Sincerely, that is an honor.
Thanks.
And they bought your story.
They
See,
did.
poets never use that word. No one buys the poem. So congratulations again.
Thanks. Hey, during these strange times, we'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're back east, aren't you, Cristina?
Yeah. I'm from Philly, and we just bought a house here, so we're back,
In Philadelphia.
back in Philly. Yep.
And you have a little one now?
Yeah, I do. I have a little girl. She's almost a year old, which is crazy. Her name's
Oh,
Myella, and she's sleeping soundly right now. So all
okay.
good.
Well, I'll keep my voice down. That's fantastic. Well, let's hear your story or what you have time to share. We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
All right. So this is a short story called Green. It all happens after Peak Riot Girl and Mudstock, after Fiona's "This World is Bullshit" speech, its girl power, 60s revival, unsupervised chat rooms, glow in the dark jewelry, and flared jeans. It's after we pierce our own lips and noses with a safety pin and an ice cube. And worst of all, it's after Kurt dies, and we know for sure that we already missed everything good. It happens during a time when everyone thinks Cam and me are sisters, just because we talk and dress alike, but it's never planned, just happens natural. We are 15 and 16, and weekends that were once spent memorizing old Gilda Radner skits from my parents' VHS tapes are now spent in garages or rusted playgrounds sitting on car hoods. How many times have we watched the same boys attempt the same skateboard tricks in the same stupid parking lot? We heckle them like we're at a Phillies game, so they slip, skin their elbows. The only thing worse is watching them play video games. It's exhausting, all the watching we end up doing. That whole summer, if we aren't sweating our makeup off in the Wawa parking lot, it's dirty feet in someone's dark windowless basement with a PlayStation, warm sodas, little whining mosquitoes. We're only just beginning to see ourselves through the eyes of boys we've known since Cubbies and Lava Tag, feel the crush of the world on our female bodies. We're just beginning to realize a lot of things. For example, Cam's big cousin Denise tells us that every girl has a list of names in her head. And this list includes the names of teenage boys who did them wrong. She says that most girls will hold on to that list until they aren't girls anymore, but women. That there are grown women walking around with the first and last names of boys they knew at 15. There are men now who've gotten my name wrong while we're having sex, but I remember Mark O'Donnell's middle name is fucking Elijah, and I haven't seen him since middle school. It picks at them their whole entire lives because the boys always get away with it. And it can be as varied and violent as you can imagine, according to Denise. This seems ridiculous to us until it doesn't. It's almost noon the day after the party, our party, we take to calling it. It's Cam's idea to throw the party the last weekend of summer, but it's my idea to have it at my house while my dad's away. Riding his Harley all the way up to Maine, spreading Mom's ashes without me. Not that I mind, somewhere on the coast. They visited once before I was born. They did lots of things before I was born. He told me his plan did not include me one morning at the Home Depot. He always tells me bad news in the Home Depot, so I can't make a scene. I've probably learned more important information in the Home Depot than I have in school, but it works. I never say anything because I know if I try, I'll cry, and I don't want to cry right there in pipe and fittings. Cam lives with only her dad, too, and her brother because her mom moved to California. She used to spend summers there, but she doesn't anymore. Her and her dad get along pretty good. She is always hanging all over him the way little kids do. After the funeral, I overheard my dad ask her dad how it was that they were so close. When do girls get close like that with their dads? And her dad shrugged and said, when their mom leaves, I guess. The house is quiet and the sun is bright in my eyes, and if I don't move, I might not feel terrible. Me and Cam lie head to foot in my kitty bed. A few other girls are tangled in a nest of blankets and sweatshirts on the floor. Someone's pear body splash makes us want to be dead. I'm too aware of the weight of my own skeleton, which makes me think I might still be just a little high. When we get up, Cam and I both feel like puking but can't. The night before, we drank little airplane bottles all poured into one cup. It tasted terrible, but it was good to forget Mom is really dead. To forget that she's burnt up and stuck in a box tied to the saddlebags of Dad's motorcycle. We plugged up the sink and poured in a gallon of lemonade and then whiskey. Cam stopped drinking it when it changed color, but I didn't. Fuck it. Now there's that hot, fuzzy feeling in the back of my throat. Cam at the sink and me at the toilet. I switch on the boombox to drown out the retching. It's the refreshments. We both sing the chorus each time like it might cure us. Everybody knows that the world is full of stupid people. After a failed attempt to throw the party trash off the trestle, it got stuck on a tree branch, and god damn it, I had to climb down there and drag it back up all sweaty and shaky. We dumped the evidence in an open green bin behind the Wendy's that smells sweet and sounds like flies. We sit in the parking lot in Cam's brother's beat up Datsun that, who knows why, is tainted with the aroma of ass. We dip soggy fries into chocolate frosties. No Doubt and the Cranberries and Smashing Pumpkins and the Presidents of the United States of America play on Y100 through crackling speakers. There's a warm September breeze that is heavy with deep fryer smell, melty blacktop, and we forget summer is over for a little bit. We can forget a lot of things for a little bit. In the rear view, I inspect the bruise across my collarbone, the color of a grape blow pop. A scene from the night before comes rushing forward like a dream you can only remember if you really concentrate and hold it still. My mom used to say that nothing good happens at a party after midnight. I remember going up to my room to lay down on the floor just really quick so things would stop spinning and waking up with someone's tongue in my mouth. His arm was in a hard cast that smelled like cheese. He held me there, his broken arm across my collarbone, heavy as lead pipe. There was a hunger to it that I took for passion, so I'd let him at first. I could have done something, I think, but he was so heavy it felt like being held underwater, so I just let him instead. I could feel the hardwood pushing up against my spine beneath the carpet, and I really couldn't help myself thinking about my bones and his under everything rattling around. When it was going on forever, I said, "Is this okay?" But he just put his hand over my mouth till I almost couldn't breathe. Afterwards, when I was trying to get on Afterwards, when I was trying to get dressed, he told me I should really do something about my hair there. "Do you want to look like a cave girl?" he said, with something like concern. My mom told me that women have a self-protective mechanism that makes us smile when we should spit, sort of the way that some animals have a camouflage to make them look like a plant. So I turned into a plant. Cam broke the lock to get me out. She was really mad. It made me think I should be mad too, but I didn't feel it. He didn't say anything, just left, annoyed, as if we'd punished him or been rude somehow. His friends, our friends, shrugged about it and rubbed their necks. "He's an asshole. Everyone knows he's an asshole." Stuff like that. Someone poured me another drink. We slurp the melty bottom of our Frosties. Cam pulls a tacky green concealer from her purse, swiped from her big cousin Denise, who uses it to cover a port wine birthmark. I work to conceal it with the precise, methodical manner we use to clean up the house, and it has the same calming effect. Cam says, "Looks good," but her face tells me it does not look good. She has a frown on the whole ride to her house. We drive back with all the windows open, so our hair gets knotty, our cheeks red from the sun and the wind. It's the way she throws the car into park and turns to me that I know, whatever she's about to say, she's already made up her mind. Solve some problem for us. "We need to meet boys that aren't from here." "Why?" "Jesus, that's why," she says, throwing her balled up straw wrapper at my bruise. "People here," she trails off. "Orchard City guys are scumbags," and I can hear her dad's voice in it, so I know she doesn't mean it. Back at Cam's house, we return her brother's car on time so he doesn't beat the shit out of her. He doesn't even need a reason, but when we ask to borrow it for the night, he tells us to fuck off forever. He's so pale, he's got those blue veins under his eyes. There is a rumor that he's an actual vampire, and we hear it so many times we start to wonder if there's something to it. We come up with a new plan. It's just getting dark, and the sky starts going purple and orange like a healing wound. We cut through South OC over the train tracks. There's a spot where you used to press pennies, but now it's needles and little glass vials shining like glitter in the late sun. They crunch under our knockoff Doc Martens, mine dark red and Cam's black with purple stitching. There are graffiti tags painted on trees, big neon scars. The creek is all dried up and overgrown from the long heat of summer. We stop at the old Wawa where they shot that cashier. They built a new one down the street, and now this one is overrun with bums and also skateboarders because there's a set of 12 steps down to the train tracks. We see some of the boys from school out front. They give us money to buy them cigarettes because the new cashier is a pervert and he never IDs us. We fill our backpacks with yoo-hoos and hot fries, tasty cake. The pack of condoms we have to hide in the hood of Cam's sweatshirt. We tried buying them once and the dude wouldn't sell them to us. "Those aren't for good girls," he said. Sitting on a couple milk crates behind the store, we feed our lingering hangovers and comb out our hair. Mine bleached blonder in dozens of teeny tiny braids, and Cam's dyed blacker, pinned straight. I think she looks just like Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill, and I tell her so. The last of the day's sun glints off green broken bottles, almost like sea glass. If you close your eyes, with the echo of the highway, you could pretend you're down the shore. Cam asked to borrow a quarter for the payphone. She calls the prep school boys that our boys buy pills from. These mainline boys, they have their own Nokias and wear windbreakers with their nicknames embroidered across the front pockets in swirly cursive. Prep school kids have the best drugs and their parents are never home, one of the boys says. How will we know if they want to do stuff? I ask Cam. I get sick to my stomach thinking about it all of a sudden. I bet they'll probably put on Oasis or some sappy type of music like that, she says. And that makes total sense to me, even though I know she's just being funny. By the time we get out towards the highway to meet them, it's dark. Cam pulls out a small mace keychain her dad put in her Easter basket this year. She tries to practice shooting it into the street, but it just sputters out air like the end of a ready whip. This was mostly Cam's idea, but she gets quiet and nervous when we get in the car, so I have to do all the talking. I try to make some of our jokes that the boys won't get so she'll laugh and remember it's me and her, but it's a long ride, and we both start to get twitchy about it. It's way greener out here, where they're from, and more room just on and on, even some cows and stuff. The one who looks like Jordan Catalano is actually named Jordan, and we almost can't believe it. The other keeps licking his teeth like he just got off braces. The house is in a big new development. Excuse me. Not like the one in our neighborhood where all the houses look like collapsing shoeboxes. Junk cars in backyards someone's always working on, chain link fences, down drain gutters. Here there's long twisting driveways and cul-de-sacs and shrubs cut into shapes. Inside, our boots squeak across the shiny lemon-scented linoleum. Fake Catalano's dad is on a business trip and his mom takes Valium to sleep. We're surprised there's not more people here because there's 4 cars in the driveway. So many shining cars in all the driveways. But they sneak us into the garage, right down into the basement. Only it doesn't smell like a basement, it's just like a regular room. Cam shoots me her "I told you so" look. There's a pool table, an air hockey, a fridge with just booze, and a projector screen, not a TV, with surround sound. There's even an old-timey looking popcorn popper on a red and gold cart like at a fair. His dad got it out of a catalog. Plus, I've never seen carpet in a basement, and for some reason that seems like the fanciest part. We sit on overstuffed worn leather couches. Our feet barely touch the floor. We do our Edith Ann impression that my mom showed us. We pinch our noses so we sound all stuffed up. Mama said, "Edith, get undressed and go to bed." And I said, "I will not get undressed. Only bad ladies take off their clothes." So I went to sleep with my coat and my shoes on. And you know what? I think it's more comfortable to be a bad lady. And that's the truth. They think we made it up, and we don't tell them otherwise. We can basically do any skit from Laugh-In, and they think we're geniuses. It's a myth that boys don't want you to be funny. We learned that. Cam brought a special deck of cards swiped from her brother. She teaches them a card game, and they keep losing and have to chug Yingling for however many seconds are on the card. They keep pulling queens and kings, which is 12 and 13 seconds. There's more than 4 of each, but they don't seem to notice. Cam pulls a shriveled green apple out of her backpack, and we make a big show of boring a hole in it, our little trick. An apple pipe is exactly what it sounds like, and all you need is some tinfoil, a sharp knife, some shake weed, and it works perfectly fine. The more they smoke, the dumber their stories get. They tell us a lot of stupid stuff, like how many people they know who've tried Roxy, like we care, how they tried it themselves, what it feels like. We don't tell them that every Monday we come to school and find out who died, a needle in their arm. Cam finally says, "We don't do that," and they shut up about it. These boys tell us, like it's funny, how much of a dump the city really is. The teeth licker goes, "My dad says OC is practically the heroin capital of Philadelphia." People say stuff like that to us all the time, and we'll spend the rest of our lives learning not to react. If you want to know what it's like being from Orchard City, that's what it's like. And that's where I will stop for now.
Thank you, Christina. That is some fine, fine work. There was not a wasted line in there.
Thanks so much, Troy.
Yes, I can't wait to hear the rest of it. You may not believe it, I was a huge Bikini Kill fan.
Nice. Love it.
Saw him live, knew all the
Great
lyrics.
stuff.
They're looking at me like, who's this guy up front yelling? But yeah, it's true. I remember when he
awesome.
died. But so much, just, I love that story. Such an immediate experience of the younger girls. Bad news in the Home Depot, so she doesn't.
It's a good trick. It's a good dad trick.
And what was the one when you should spit? Smile when we should spit. And I love that line, boys, we need to find boys who aren't from here. And that was a response to that girl's assault.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so we want to hear the rest of the story. And you're working on a novel also? Is it related to these characters or it's different stuff?
So my short story collection is all stories that take place in the same sort of fictional neighborhood outside of Philly. And the novel is it also takes place in the same town. So not related exactly, but geographically, yeah.
A different age range for the characters, or is it all?
Yeah. The story collection is like a wide range of characters. And the novel main characters like in their early 40s. So still hits on like a wide range of ages, which I like.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Like Dubliners, you know, Joyce's collection.
That's right. One of my favorites.
Really? Oh, you like that book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that guy has craft. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Cristina. I want to have you come back. I wish
Wonderful.
You and your family all the best. Maybe next time your little baby will be old enough, or maybe not old enough, but maybe he or she will be away, and we can see your sweet little face.
She can make an appearance for sure.
Very cool.
Thanks so much. Thanks.
All right, take care, Cristina. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
Hey everyone, if you're just joining us, my name is Troy Myers. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing. And in January, with my classmate and colleague Amanda Plow, we started a Sunday night reading series for alumni from Stone Coast program. In the summer, we are going to every other week to allow us a little more free time to travel and recover from what a year it's been, I suppose. But I will say, as I always say, that this is a highlight of my week, and I absolutely love hearing again and again such high quality work. And for me, I feel like I'm part of a community of writers, which I missed so much post Stone Coast. So thank you, Cristina, for reading. Our next reader is Alexandra Delcourt. She was sort of recruited by Cristina, so that's very cool. They're from the same class, I believe. Alexandra is a fiction author. And Alexandria, are you there? What are you going to read for us tonight?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
So we are actually, well, in what I'm going to read, going worlds away from Cristina's work, and it's a very short piece from a novel draft that takes place in the Philippines, sort of in the years leading up to World War II, and loosely based on a true story, family story, but highly fictionalized at this point.
Were you born in the Philippines, or your family?
I wasn't. No, my mom was. Okay. And so, shortly after graduating, I got to go to the Philippines. And so that has informed a lot of, the revisions of the draft and everything. So
which island were they from? Do you know? My ex was Filipina. So.
Oh yeah. From Luzon.
Oh,
and part of the family is in the Manila area. Of course, it was very different pre-World War II, before everything got bombed. But yeah, so some of this, actually this part of the story does take place in Manila. So
that is fantastic. That is such the history of the Philippines is so fascinating.
Yeah.
That period in history, Japanese occupation, powerful
stuff.
And
it's right at there was a moment where there was Japanese occupation, Spanish and American all kind of at the same time. And that is very much what's happening politically at the time that this story takes place.
Excellent. And my Filipino friends will tell me, and the islands were never fully conquered by the Spanish, the Americans, or the Japanese. So I have a lot of respect for Filipinos and the martial arts, actually, which is how I got
cool.
involved in the culture a little. But We're ready to hear what you have, Alexandra. Sincerely, this sounds like great stuff. So it's all you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet.
So let's see. For just a little bit of context, this story is centered on a single family, and the family has kind of a really dysfunctional dynamic. So this particular scene is between the father and the daughter, but she is an illegitimate daughter. So she doesn't quite have the same privileges that her siblings has, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Amanda will pull me down in a second. She's had a little Wi-Fi issue, but go ahead and start. We're all here to hear.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So this, all right. I'm just going to start. Okay. In the early morning, before the cocks, before the sun, before the heat, before brothers, before morning, before light, before birds, before flashlight, before markets, before mosquitoes, before humidity, before rain, before waking, before mother, before creaking on the stairs, before laughter, before vegetables, garlic, chicken, before mass, before pain, before prayer, before memory, before work, before calluses, before fear, before shy, before song, before fire, before stove, before folding, before family, before beginning and shirt and skirt and school, before breakfast, before the world, before voice, before blossom, and before scent, before everything, there was just her father. Sampaguita couldn't remember a time when her father woke up in the morning and left the house for work. He had stopped going shortly after she was born, and as far as she knew, that's how it had always been. As far as she knew, things had always been just fine. Her earliest memories were of him coming to visit her, and only her, every morning. Even when her mother was still asleep, the red quilt bunched and folded around her quiet, breathing body. Her father would shake her shoulders, his large hands gentle as whispering, and motion her to follow him upstairs to the study. He always smelled of something sweet and rich, like fruit with bread fresh from an oven. Sampaguita inhaled the aroma like breakfast. Those were the days when Tomas was still lucid in the mornings, the years before their mornings were full of sickness, dizziness, and death. Sampaguita would follow her father up the stairs, each competing to see who could tiptoe the softest, each stifling a small laugh in their shared game, shared secret, shared time. Sampaguita loved her father's study. The room was large and filled with ornately hand-carved furniture resting upon an ash-colored jute rug. Rows of shelves lined its walls, each filled with books and intricately carved ivory plates that depicted scenes of beautiful women and distant places collected from traders in the ports of Barcelona, where Tomas claimed that he had often walked as a younger man. Sampaguita loved to run her fingers across the faces of the delicate dolls and miniature sailboats that Tomas often spun into characters when he told her stories and read from his books. He taught her to read. He taught her all about his parents and his home. He explained the ideas of war and violence when they would come across them in his books. He taught her about donkeys and windmills. He told her about love. He told her about girls and boys, women and men. He explained sex. He taught her about revolution. He taught her about independence. He told her about God and church and priests and duty. He told her about mothers and fathers. He told her about oceans and tides. He explained the sun, how plants grow, how to turn an argument in your favor. He asked for her opinion. He listened to what she said. He explained how to build roads, how to cobble a horse, how to milk a cow, how to swim, and how to tell when someone is lying. She was not scared or disturbed by the things he told her. She accepted them as though all children her age knew about the world in such certain terms, understood that cracks could break walls, could break people, drive families apart, ideas, separate hearts. She saw the world very simply in the terms of his interpretation. Her sister's fighting was understandable to her, her mother's stoicism, Rosanna's inward turning appetite, her older brother's dreams, her younger brother's ignorances, why they still, mere children, would sometimes grab at their penises and play with them right in front of everybody, how Rosanna's horror was misplaced. Sampaguita knew it wasn't sexual. She understood why her mother walked around the far side of the market and back toward the center again instead of walking straight through the closest entry point to the house. She understood the man at the second fruit stand, how he looked at her and why it was wrong, how he looked at her mother, too. And she, just a child herself, understood the small shame of it and how to push it so far down she couldn't feel it anymore. Her father told her the story over and over again of how the walls cracked and showed her every day how the cracks seemed to move. See here? Yesterday they were 2 centimeters higher than this small mark. Now today, 4. He winked at her from across the room when yet again, Luis and Rosanna and Romeo and Emilio and Teresa and Juliet and Blessing and Flashlight and even her own mother, all exhausted by his relentless rambling about the damn cracks in the wall, said for the 1,000th time that no, Tomas, no, Father, the cracks have not changed. They were exactly as they had been the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that. They were perfectly straight, parallel to the ground, still crisp and uneroded as they had been on that first day. And please, please, please stop already with this nonsense, please. Only Sampaguita could see the changes. She was not allowed to go to school, but nevertheless, thanks to her father's tutelage, she could read and write as well as any of her older siblings by the time she was 8 years old. She poured herself over the books in her father's library like water over a bed of flowers, and could remember every story she read. Each volume she pulled from the shelf had a moldy, dusty scent that she memorized as she flipped through its pages, associating the characters and histories with the page's unique aroma until she was able to distinguish over 100 novels simply by smelling the fungus on their spines, and began explaining to her father when she saw him in the morning that the rug in the study had the same stench as the lower deck of a tall ship named Santa Lucia she had read about the morning before, or that his shoes reminded her of a sun-tanned saddle on the sweaty back of a 10-year-old horse in Mexico, or even once that his breakfast reeked of war tactics. She saw letters and words everywhere, rows of X's in the bamboo slats trussed together outside the window, where orange and purple U-shaped flower petals bloomed off of twisting S vines, swaying W's in the movements of the tips of leaves as the wind pushed them up and down from left to right and back again, wide convex C's that the old women selling papayas and star fruits on ragged blankets they laid on the ground in the market made with their arms as they motioned for her to come closer and see the brown spots of the skin on the fruits, which meant they would be at their sweetest to eat in the next hour or two. She traced Y patterns every day as she moved between her father's study, the kitchen, and the dining room, where the cracks in the walls had inevitably grown by an inch or two in the night, causing the ceiling to settle further and further into a depressed sag. And because of the bowing, the floor of the dining room was covered in a fine dusting of white plaster, which Sampaguita wiped every day before breakfast. Nobody else ever saw the dust. As she grew older, she began studying the cracks every day and noticed the ways they changed in the night. Sometimes the changes were subtle, but at other times the cracks shifted completely, either because they wanted to be closer to the breeze coming in through the window or to avoid the spiders that wove their home in one corner or another. Sampaguita read the fine entwining cracks looking for prophetic messages, but usually they appeared as a jumble of letters that made no sense except on 2 occasions, when she was able to discern the word match in their scribbles, and another time the word baseball. When none of the books on the shelves seemed interesting anymore, Sampaguita borrowed the letters that arrived at the house early in the morning to read each one in secret, replacing them on the credenza near the front door before anyone noticed they were gone. In doing so, she learned the smell of the mold spores and leftover breakfast that lingered on the fingers of the boy who delivered their mail. She learned that Rosanna had been applying to seminary schools in Spain on Luis's behalf, as well as medical schools in America on Romeo's behalf, signing the letters with their father's name. Sampaguita was the first to read the responses from the schools, which came back addressed to Rosanna and smelled like the kind of mold that grew in the wash basins where her mother cleaned dishes and towels in the kitchen. As such, she was the first to learn that Luis had been accepted to a seminary school and would be leaving in 6 months. The secret Sampaguita learned from reading her family's mails were as thick as coconut skins, and she wore them like armor to protect herself whenever she heard her father and Rosanna yelling upstairs, or her parents moaning together sometimes in the evenings in the next room. Sometimes they sounded like stray cats calling to each other in the dark, and other times as soft and disparate and ghost-like as the mist that settled above the grass on damp, windless tropical nights. It was by reading the mail that Sampaguita, when she was 10, discovered one morning that her father had been refusing to defend any clients for years, citing ill health as his main reason. And after intercepting 3 separate correspondences in which the senders offered their condolences to her father for his chronic illness and misfortune, Sampaguita began hiding in the shadows outside his study and eavesdropping on his conversations to look for signs that he was dying. She became so worried that her palms erupted in itchy rashes, which she told her mother was the result of anxiety, or which her mother told her was the result of anxiety, and warned her to stop sneaking around the house and to rub garlic cloves into her hands 3 times a day. The garlic had no effect on the rash, but instead left her stinking and pungent, so that every time she crouched hidden outside the study, her father's nose rose into the air, and he left his desk as if on the provision of a higher power and strode with a singular focus to the kitchen for a snack. Sometimes Carmen would be there with food already simmering for this meal or that. Other times he dragged her to the bedroom for another kind of snack. He almost caught Sampaguita sneaking around so many times she was forced to alter her strategy, and deciding that perhaps the best way to approach him was directly, asked him one morning how his heart was feeling. "Like a barrel of fish," he told her. "Then I will get you some medicine," she responded, wanting to appear as though she understood. "That would be very helpful," he replied, and handed her his silver flask, a quart-sized glass jar, and some pennies. "Take these to sell Chen in the market." Sampaguita nodded. "Have you seen the cracks today?" he asked, before she left. "Bigger every day," she answered, and this made him laugh and rock backwards in his chair. When she returned half an hour later, he was still smiling, and his voice lilted when he spoke to her. "Our little secret," he said, as she handed him the flask full of gin. Sorry, I'm not sure if that was time, but that's where I'm going to stop. Anybody there? Amanda might be having Wi-Fi issues still. I can keep going. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. I'm almost sad that I popped up because that is phenomenal fiction, Alexandra.
Thank you.
The intro, all the repetition, the before, loved it, and I loved the sounds. It felt like a poem to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of that. Alliteration, the assonance, all the beautiful sounds in there, and what an extraordinary character study. Is this, you probably said at the beginning, but is this from a short story or is this?
No, it's from a novel. And actually Sampaguita is a child in this portion of it, but she eventually grows up and is my great grandmother.
Wow. So some of this you said is family story.
Yeah. The large, plot points are, but a lot of this sort of character stuff I just made it up.
The how does your heart feel like a barrel of fish? That was genius. Did you hear that, or did you come up with that?
No, I came up with it. Wow. I was going for squirmy,
Yeah. Wow.
Whatever that means.
That is fantastic. Breakfast reeked of war tactics. And that extended metaphor of that ceiling sagging in the cracks. That's some gifted writing, Alexandra. You have to come back and read more. Are you shopping that novel now? Is that what's going on?
I'm not. It's not quite done. It's one of those where I've started it a million times and I have a lot written, but it's just not fully together yet. you know.
Okay, well, we on this show, me and Amanda, are going to make sure you keep writing.
Thank you.
Stuff. We want you to come back and read more of that wonderful novel and get that thing finished. That is just beautiful, beautiful. And I'm loving how so far we've heard two perspectives from young females, less than ideal worlds. God, the talent on this show just scares me. Thank you, Alexandra. We'll have you come back for sure.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Take care.
You too.
Hey, everyone. If you're just joining, my name is Troy Myers. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing at the University of Southern Maine. And during the January break, when the nation was running slowly and most of us were stuck at home, my classmate and colleague Amanda Plow and I decided to have a Sunday night reading series for alumni of the Stone Coast program. And we did that 17 straight weeks. In the summer, we're now going to every other week. We're always looking for readers. We have 2 readers coming up in 2 weeks. Alexis Page is one, and I will look up the other one and tell you at the end of the show. But we just heard some fantastic fiction from Alexandra Delcourt. And that's all I have. We have one more reader tonight, so stick around if you just popped in. Our last reader is Shannon Bowring. And Shannon, are you out there? Pop on up. And we are waiting. Amanda's waiting too. Okay. Oh, we're here. Hey.
Hi.
Now, this is cool, Shannon, because you are a student still at Stone Coast.
I am, yeah.
Congratulations for volunteering. We totally welcome that.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
And you are a student during this time of isolation and distancing.
Yep.
So what is that like?
It's been interesting. My first residency was in person, but since then it's been virtual. So we're kind of missing the in-person community, but it's been pretty good. I mean, we're all a bunch of introverts anyway, so we've done the best we can do, you know.
Okay, and you said this summer will still be virtual, but hoping that winter is back in person.
Hoping winter is back. That'll be my graduation semester, so I'm really hoping we can graduate in person, for sure.
Oh, that would be great. And you stay at the Harris Seekit now, summer and winter, I think. It is face-to-face.
Yep.
Great place. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, if I could plug the Harris Seekit on here and get like a free room, I would do it, but that's not how it works.
Right. Yeah.
I had a lot of fun in that hotel.
Yeah.
So what are you reading for us tonight? What are you working on? Is this part of your thesis or?
This is not part of my thesis. So I'm a fiction student, but I've kind of branched out into creative nonfiction. And this is an essay that just got picked up by Slush Pile magazine. It should be coming out in the next few weeks. So I thought I could kind of debut it to you guys.
Good. I like I like the name Slush Pile. Is it online or is it print? Or both?
I think it's only online. I'm not positive.
Okay. Again, I think that's cool that we all get to read it and don't have to try to hunt down a journal. So
exactly.
I know there's room for both, but I'm congratulations for getting the publication while you're still a student.
I know, yeah.
Super cool. All right. Well, let's see what you have. I can't wait to hear it. It's all you.
Thank you. So just to give a little context, I wrote this last summer when the world was on fire and I was having some personal health depression issues. It's called Dead Monarchs. It's butterfly season. The leaves have just begun to yellow. The crickets sing all day. At the library where I work, the children's room staff have been busy tending to a plastic jar of milkweed and monarch caterpillars, recording the creature's evolution and posting it to our social media pages. This used to be witnessed in person, but of course the time for that has passed. My procedure is scheduled for 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning. The past few days have been muggy, but today feels autumn cool, that New England snap in the air that makes you think of sweaters and cinnamon and decaying jack-o'-lanterns on anonymous front porches. At the entrance to the medical building, I stop to cover my mouth and nose with a blue paper mask. A volunteer stands behind a podium, behind a small table, covered with more masks, and an industrial-sized bottle of hand sanitizer. Here for an appointment? Endoscopy. And in the past 14 days, have you experienced This is the new, how are you doing? This is the new, good. And you? This is the new, let's just please go over this worn-in script so we can hopefully never speak again. Have a nice day, I tell the man. The building is cleaner than usual, the fluorescent lights brighter than they ever used to be. Every evening, T and I go out to our yard for a flower walk. We tour first the front garden where the daylilies are beginning to wither at the edges, the purple phlox petals dropping like tears to the rain-starved ground. Then we amble toward the side garden. The peonies died weeks ago. The giant crimson bee balm, which kept at least one hummingbird happy, is starting to wane, the red tendril flames of its life collapsing down to memory. But the butterfly weed continues to thrive even as its delicate orange flowers fade away. A type of milkweed, the bush is starting to grow fuzzy, elongated pods that will one day split open and release their seeds into the air, to be carried by the wind all around this neighborhood, perhaps as far as the park, the river, the sidewalks downtown in front of cafes that now stand dark and empty. During one of these flower walks, we see it, a hint of black, yellow, and white perched on one leaf of the butterfly weed. I recognize the pattern of the stripes, the black antenna, the suction cup feet. A monarch, I tell T, who is busy frowning at the lawn, a sickly shade of beige despite his daily watering schedule. That's nice, sweetie. He curls his toes in the crunchy grass. Our water bill is going to be through the roof. The caterpillar makes his way around the perimeter of the leaf, chewing as he goes. The evening sky is watermelon pink and the air smells of dying earth. The crickets sing as though their lives depend on it. I can never regulate my body temperature in doctors' offices or hospitals, and today is no exception. My face is sticky hot from the mask, my armpits rank with nervous sweat. My fingers and toes are so cold they ache. The questions the nurse asks are the same ones I answered at last week's CT scan, at both ERs I ended up in 2 weekends ago, at my primary care doctor's office, or over glitchy webcams for the past 6 months. I rattle off my symptoms. Dramatic, unintentional weight loss, lack of appetite, intestinal cramps different from and worse than the IBS cramps I've suffered for over a decade, nausea, esophageal spasms so painful that I'm sure each time they occur, my heart is about to explode. And you should be aware that I have PTSD because of my medical history, I say. Up until a couple years ago, no one had ever suggested that my chronic anxiety could be linked to the trauma my body has endured since the day I was born with 2 heart conditions, both of which required multiple surgeries, including 2 open-heart operations before I was 6 years old. The official PTSD diagnosis, handed down from an osteopath who magically makes my nerves and muscles stop shrieking at one another, came as a relief. Finally, a concrete explanation for the paralyzing fear I've felt all my life. Ah, so you get a little nervous. The nurse's voice has changed. I am no longer a polite 30-year-old woman, but a crazy patient to watch out for. Her tone is kind but condescending, and she holds eye contact with me a few seconds too long, as though she is observing a specimen through a thick wall of plexiglass. We've been told repeatedly by doctors and psychologists and talk show hosts and YouTube ads that interrupt our cat videos that anxiety and depression are normal. You shouldn't feel ashamed, we are assured. Talk to your healthcare provider about just how normal you really are. And I recognize that I could be cagey about the subject of mental health. I grew up in northern Maine, where complex emotions are not discussed, and terms like mood stabilizers and inherited trauma are considered more problematic than racial slurs. So in an attempt to embrace my mental illness, I tell myself I'm reading too much into the nurse's tone, that it's unfair to assume she judges me as harshly as I judge myself. I take the plunge, admit the bigger truth. I actually have severe anxiety. We'll give you some meds to calm your nerves as part of the awake sedation. You won't feel or remember a thing. Sometimes meds have the opposite effect on me, I tell her. Just don't worry about it, hon. A pause, and now her tone is softer, more careful. You know, sometimes anxiety makes our GI system act up. Is there anything going on in your life right now that's stressing you out more than usual? My mind fills with bleak images. Navy blue signs staked beside Confederate flags. Stormtroopers abducting peaceful protesters. Crimson numbers splashed on every news report, those numbers continually rising. Death toll yesterday, death toll today, death toll predicted tomorrow. Murder hornets, wildfires, drought, and all the flowers losing their color, the light disappearing earlier each evening in the toxic air. Life is great, I tell the nurse. Don't you worry, hon. It will be over before you know it. At the library, the monarch caterpillars have stopped eating. They cling unmoving to the milkweed leaves in the little plastic jar. The children's room staff is thrilled. This means they're getting ready for their transformation. The bottom of the jar is covered in brown caterpillar turds, each one about the size of a grain of couscous. Remarkable. All that waste out of something so small. How long until it starts? Any day now. Back at home, I walk across the scorched lawn and kneel before our butterfly weed, where our lone monarch has stopped eating too. He clings to the underside of a leaf, his body shaded from below and lit from above by the midday sun. I watch him for a long time. He doesn't move at all. There are 2 bathrooms in the gastrointestinal suite, one situated on either end of the hallway, which is lined with doorless rooms that house patients who are waiting for their endoscopies and colonoscopies. I hear a lot of hurried footsteps, locks slammed into place, toilets flushing. The prep for my procedure was meant to take 20 minutes. I've been here over 2 hours. My veins are stiff, cold, stubborn. Over the past few weeks, the delicate skin has been prodded too many times. Bruises bloom across my arms, inner elbows, the back of my left hand. Looks like we'll have to get the ultrasound machine and do it that way, the nurses tell me. It'll be just a few more minutes. Just a few more minutes, in the medical world, I have learned, means at least half an hour. I forgot to bring a book with me, and my phone dies a slow but steady death as I tap brightly colored tiles on a mahjong game to try and keep calm. I haven't eaten since last night. No water since 6 o'clock this morning. My eyes are gritty from lack of sleep, and the sweet sour reek of my breath against my mask makes me feel disgusted and angry and convinced my organs are rotting like the flesh of the bloated moose that littered the back roads of the town where I grew up. I have no one to talk to, no visitors allowed these days. Finally, a new nurse comes in with the ultrasound machine. The other nurses must have warned him about the anxious young lady in Suite 11, because he speaks to me as though I'm still learning to ride without training wheels. He adjusts the IV, swabs my skin with antibacterial wipes, runs the plastic wand up and down my forearm until the machine glows and he sees the flow of my blood pumping steady in a wide, lovely vein. Little poke now, he says, and I imagine it's the same voice he'd use while telling his girlfriend or boyfriend that their new jeans don't make them look fat. Not fat at all. I feel the cold saline rush up my arm, into my chest, and down along my sternum. The solution smells familiar, a smell I always forget until it hits me again. Sweet plastic, hint of metallic alcohol, one of the first aromas of my childhood as I lay in OR hallways before each big cardiac event. They'll be in for you soon. He tidies up so efficiently. He doesn't look me in the eye. Just a few more minutes. The caterpillars at the library have started hanging from their leaves. The children's room staff say that when the monarchs are ready, they hook onto a leaf and curl upside down in the shape of the letter J. This is how they form their chrysalis, the protective barrier from the world that will allow them to transform. T crouches next to me. The grass beneath our feet is sun-crisped like straw. I named him Francis, I say. Francis isn't looking so good, says T. He hasn't moved for days. He's just getting ready. Any day now. A nurse wheels me down the hallway. It's a smooth ride, the bed's tires whispering against the white tile floor. She drapes another warm blanket over my body, a lousy attempt to make up for leaving me alone in a freezing room for several hours. The procedure room is dimly lit and whirring with machines. The doctor, whom I've never met before, sits on a wheeled stool in the corner. He asks me the standard small talk questions. Home, work, family, pets. I ask about the results from my CT scan, evidence of gastric diverticulum. I want to know what it means. It means nothing, he says. It's a 1 in a million chance it could mean anything. What are the chances I'd be born with 2 heart conditions? I ask. And he makes a polite noise that lets me know he doesn't care about any of that. The nurses are flitting around me, busy hands that pass equipment back and forth. They scrape a numbing jelly-like substance onto my tongue that tastes like fake peppermint. It drips down the back of my throat, dissolves behind my teeth. Now one of the nurses is inserting a hollow plastic thing between my lips that reminds me of the poppers they put into pizza boxes to keep the cheese from melting onto the cardboard. I can't speak. I can't swallow. We're giving you Benadryl, the doctor says. We find it helps young women like you who get a little nervous about these sorts of things. I'm rolled on to my left side. One nurse sits at my head while the other hovers around my IV. And now something is happening. A dark bubble of horror is blossoming in my chest, expanding outward and upward into my throat, the corners of my mouth. My limbs are suffused with mercury. There's an intense sensation of being pulled backward, that feeling when you're half awake and your dreams are trying to jerk you under the thick scum of sleep. My heart beats faster, harder, and tears pour down my face as I try to pull the plastic thing out of my mouth. I can't speak. I can't swallow. I can't move. I can't breathe. They're all staring at me, assuring me it's just the drugs, that this is normal. But my body is screaming, fuck you, this isn't fucking normal. And my soul is shaking, shuddering, because there's a deeply familiar feeling here, that age-old certainty that this is what it feels like to die, to be pulled under, to be yanked away from the skeleton house that moves my body through this world, to be released into the greater nothing. They're all staring at me. I'm making desperate noises like a sheep being led to slaughter, and I can't stop crying. The nurse at my head rubs my hair, makes soothing noises. You're doing great. You're fine. But nothing is great, and nothing is fine. And this is how I'm going to die. In the sterile room with people who don't know me. And I should have kissed T goodbye when he dropped me off here this morning. And then one day, I go outside and see that Francis has changed position on his leaf. His antennae wobble in the breeze, and his little feet work to find the right grip as his body drops down into a hook. This is it. The magic has begun. Soon the rest of the drug cocktail kicks in, and my body grows heavier. My eyes close. I continue to sense the nurse's gentle hands in my hair, but I can no longer feel my body. I hear them working around me, the doctor's commanding male voice loudest of all. There is a slight pressure when the scope is threaded down my throat. I hear suction, see dreams of orange wings pressed against a thin green membrane. Something white behind my eyes is glittering, little firework explosions that remind me of daisy petals as they reach toward the sun. Someone is calling my name, a voice I do not recognize. They say it again and again and again. You need to wake up. I can't wake up. I don't want to. The wings are about to merge from the cocoon. My name again, more urgent. Can you hear me? Wake up. You need to wake up now. Flight comes next. Wake up. Any moment now. At the library, the first of the monarchs has emerged. The children's room staff is planning a live release in the garden outside the brick building, an event to be recorded and shared throughout our community, an event to be celebrated. Little, but necessary. At home, I rush to see the progress Francis has made. Brown liquid seeps from his head, cools on the leaf below him. He doesn't move at all. After I wake up, a nurse assists me to the bathroom, helps me dress, hands me paperwork, calls T to come pick me up. She did great, I hear her assure him. No problems at all. I can't stop crying. Fat, silent, scalding tears leak from my eyes. I pull stale breath as deep into my lungs as possible, pinch the bruised skin around my IV site, bite my lip until I taste blood. Anything to convince myself I still exist. As the sun sinks below the rooftop of our house, I bury Francis under last year's dead brown leaves. At the end, his tiny body curled up almost into nothing. All that yellow, black-white skin shriveled like an old condom. All that waste out of something so small. They say the results from the procedure shouldn't take long. If this is inconclusive, they tell me, we'll try something else. They say the rest of the library monarchs will break free soon, and we will be there to mark the occasion. They say the world is bound to right itself, that the pendulum will swing back around to something different, better, brighter. Just a few more minutes. Any day now. And that's it. Thank you.
Oh, Shannon, I have great hope for the future of Stone Coast. Those were lovely garden descriptions.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thank you.
and the air smells of dying earth. And I don't think I've ever heard such a well-written description of a panic attack, or kind of like a panic attack.
It was a panic attack. Yeah.
Double with horror.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of anxiety in my life, and you described it very well. And also just that entire experience with the medical staff. Wow.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it didn't sound like a lot of fun. That was fantastic reading, Shannon, and fantastic writing.
Thank you.
We are going to bring our other folks back up so we can all say kind of hi. Cristina and Alexandra are back. Hey, everybody, how was it?
Hi.
It was awesome. It was so great hearing everything.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, it's gotten dark in my room. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So Shannon, you'll graduate in December?
Yeah, January. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
January. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So we can watch you when you go, on Zoom or however they're doing it.
Yeah.
But thank you all for coming and reading tonight. 3 fantastic female writers writing intimate material. I loved it, and I grew as a person, and I'm very grateful for all that talent and art and beauty. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome, and we want you all to come back. So Amanda and I have already decided we want you all to come back. Is it the same group or different groups? We want to hear more of your work. So thank you all so much for showing up.
Great.
Thanks for organizing this, you guys. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Next week we have Alexis Page, 2 weeks, and Nikki, either Patton or Patin. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Nikki and Alexis are reading, and maybe a third. So I will see folks then. Anyone. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.